Hello again and welcome to another episode, and it's good to be with you. Today I'm recording from Alice Springs, and the purpose of today's video was to let you know that recently I did a review on the VW T3 and I wanted to share the experience that I had driving my VW T3 for the first time since 2016 from Adelaide to Alice Springs. And I honestly couldn't fault the car. I had a very nice experience driving the car. It was tremendous. The whole van actually drove very well. It was stable on the road. The steering was very nice. I faced headwinds. The engine is the original 2.1 litre VW motor. Despite the fact that I had some concerns about a small coolant leak in the engine, the whole car was a delight to drive. Let's go check it out. G'day, good to be with you and welcome to today's episode. Today we're going to talk a little bit about the VW T3 and my experience in the Northern Territory and the reason why I had to carry out those critical maintenance pieces that I'm about to discuss. Let's go check it out. I'm working on my VW T3, so I decided to remove the injectors today. And what I did, I took them to a licensed auto electrician who had a reputable contact to get the injectors ultrasonic cleaned and serviced for me. And the reason why I did that for my T3 is two reasons. I'm intending to use the bus to go on some long distance travel, and secondly, I also experienced some poor idle initially when the engine fired away. Now, I wanted to mention that I used this premium engine conditioner and I wasn't really happy with the results, although it did achieve some form of cleaning internally in the engine as the engines are fuel injected, and they highly recommended that we use this product to clean a boxer motor. I still decided after reading people's information and feedback that the injectors were the best thing to do. Remove them, clean them once in a lifetime, and the results came back to me, and the auto electrician had told me that they were dirty and they did need. I have noticed a significant improvement in the idle of the engine just looking at it right now. I would like to say that I'm very pleased and satisfied with the note and the smooth running of the engine. It's just purring and sounds fairly quiet, and I would highly and strongly recommend you other T3 owners to make sure that you guys do your injectors, get them ultrasonic cleaned, because you're going to get a lot of satisfaction out of your car, and I'm about to drive it shortly. And here's another thing that you need to do with your T3 before you go on a trip. I would strongly recommend that you get your starter motor checked, and yes, there were problems with my starter motor internally, and I'm so glad that I had them looked at by a licensed auto electrician, which is going to be a huge lifesaver. You don't want to be going out on long distance trips to find out that you can't get your car started. And one final thing about that, mine is an automatic model. On the North Stewart Highway, just out of the side of the town centre. And the reason why I wanted to record this video today, in conjunction to a previous review that I did driving a Volkswagen T3 and being a proud owner of one of these cars, was simply the fact to tell you guys that I had enormous success in driving the car from Adelaide to Alice Springs. And I thought I have to get this out of the way, because when I first bought my VW T3 in 2016, it was the first opportunity that I had to drive the car on the Stewart Highway and get it to Alice Springs. And it wasn't until this very minute that I realised that I was actually in this town where I sighted the first of the T3s in the car yard that I did some work experience many years ago when I was a young boy at the time. and I wanted to provide the experience that I had out at Sutton Motors, where I saw the first T3 that I mentioned before, which was one of the yellow ones. It was an air-cooled one, followed by a TriStar, followed by a customer's gold Caravelle, or a copper brown colour that was a synchro, down at about 90 kilometres per hour. And believe it or not, you do cover a lot of surface at 90 kilometres per hour, which wasn't such a bad drive on the Stuart Highway. I had some strong headwind coming up, and I can honestly tell you that the car was a delight to drive. And I had some concerns around some coolant leaks and one or two other things, and I carried sufficient parts underneath the rock and roll bed. Not a great deal though, but overall I didn't really have to use any of those parts, and the car started first kick in the morning all the way along. It drove very, very well, sound, and fuel economy was very, very good. At 90 kilometres per hour, I have to tell you, running the 98 fuel, I did 300 kilometres in half a tank. 40 kilometres away from Marla on the Stuart Highway in the South Australian state. In fact, it's the far north part of South Australia. Check this view here out. Moment 7, 8, 9, and we're off to all zeros on the Larridge Highway, which has taken me to Kings Canyon on Wednesday the 22nd of September 2021. Now, in addition to this, it's just a good idea to keep an eye on the rest of the fuel hoses and lines in the area. Make sure that none of the hoses are corroded. And while we're at it, if you do see something that's badly worn or leaking, replace it straight away. Wind is time. Wind is drag, and drag costs time, drag costs money. Today I've got some slight light westerly winds on the Stuart Highway just before Culgara. Morning. Now, after leaving Alice Springs, there's one place in the Northern Territory that I haven't seen, and it's Kings Canyon, and I'm right here today. It's about 450 kilometres away from Alice Springs. And I thought, well, seeing I'm in the area, what a golden opportunity to come in here and drive the Kombi down to this part of the world. And boy gee, you will have a tremendous experience looking at these huge canyons behind me in this direction over here. So what are you waiting for? Jump in your Kombi and come down and check out this part of the world. I know, I certainly had a glorious experience coming out here. And the Kombi just drove very, very nicely to see gorgeous wildlife and beautiful fresh air and country like no other that we have right here in the Northern Territory. G'day, hello again, great to be with you. So I'm still in the Northern Territory. Here's my VW-T3 over here, and I've actually just arrived at the junction on the Lassiter Highway, Larridja Highway. So if you go that direction over there, that'll take you straight to Uluru. If you go this direction over here, it's more of a westerly direction. It'll take you straight to Kings Canyon, which is the Larridja Way, and the Wataka National Park. Thoroughly enjoyed myself over there this morning. So the Red Centre Way, over here you can see the large sign that'll meet you back. If you head over that way, it'll take you also straight through to Alice Springs. The Marini Loop, however, there's about 80 to 100 kilometres, I believe, of unsealed road. Unfortunately, this isn't one of my things for my Kombis, so I don't really want to go on any gravel roads, I'm afraid. Outside of that, I'm having an awesome experience visiting the Northern Territory and sightseeing the scenery in the area. Bloody flies are doing my head in. Yeah, and the weather is absolutely fantastic, glorious sunny days.